Hello and welcome to Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today we're going to have a really interesting conversation with Samuel Chong, who found and read Michel Desmarques's book, The Thiaoouba Prophecy, and he's going to be sharing how he found the book, what led him to want to share this information, and specific things in the book that could help us here on earth in our lives lead a better life based in love and unconditional love. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Samuel Chong is a certified court interpreter and Chinese translator. He visited Michel Desmarques, the author of Thiaoouba Prophecy, in 2016 and 2018, and he was instrumental in arranging for the Chinese publication of Desmarques's book, which has been a bestseller in both China and Taiwan, which is a rare phenomenon. He also translated the book 333% Lies, the revelation of H.M. Chul, an autobiography of the High Master of the chair of a secret society that was started in Germany. Today, he dedicates his efforts in promoting the messages in these books in order to give people hope and to help promote a better world through his scholarship that he also created, which he gives to a young person who reads the book, which is fantastic. Graduating from UC Berkeley with a BA in economics, and also has an MA in financial analysis, and he currently lives in Los Angeles. Samuel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
This is really fascinating. I was looking at all the information that you sent me, and one, it's like, can I believe this? Can I not believe this? But then there's also other parts in it. You know, you talk about parallel universes, reincarnation, giving an explanation for the possible reason of the Bermuda Triangle, Egypt, UFOs, our origins. So I'm super excited to dive in because I think even though people may have a hard time grasping this concept, I think that they can grasp the concepts and the teachings, that I'm going to say Michel channeled through, from these beings. So first off, though, how did you find this book? How did you stumble on this book?
Back in 2014, I was intentionally looking for books written by ET contactees because I thought if the ETs could come and visit us, they must have advanced technologies and also knowledge. We can just learn from them to progress at much faster pace. So that's the intention. And I found this book and I checked it out. In the very beginning, I thought, oh, this could be true. This could be kind of just like a fascination or science fiction. But then after I read the chapter on who is Christ, and I couldn't put the book down because it actually connects all the dots. I didn't believe anything in the Bible before I read this book, but after reading this book, I believed that some of the historical events that are documented in the Bible actually happened. It actually explains why Jesus never performed miracles before the age of 30, and why there's a tomb of Jesus in Japan, and also why some people say that Jesus went to India, and also reincarnation and things like that.
So that's fascinating. You really didn't really fully grasp the book until you got into the Christianity aspect of it. So what was it about Jesus's story, Jesus and Christ, which gets separated in the book, and how you viewed, what you had already learned as opposed to what they explained in the book?
After I came to the US, I never believed any single word in the Bible because I thought the Bible is a very good story, but it's just the miracles are too good to believe. And also the pastors, the priests in the church, sometimes they say something, but they do others. Like there's a lot of negative media on the priests in the Catholic Church. So I never believed anything in the Bible. But then there are some people I just couldn't believe that this book are so detailed and it has a lot of specific facts that I was later to verify. For example, it says there's a tomb in Shingo Village, Japan, that people can still visit. And also there's a tomb next to the tomb of Jesus, which is a tomb of his brother that buried a lock of his brother's hair because his brother died in China when they traveled through India and to China and Japan. So this is like a lot of specificity and specificity, like specific facts. And also it says that King Herod killed 2,606 babies. It's so specific that it made me just wonder what really happened in the past and who really parted the sea for Moses and who gave the manna to the Hebrews. And this book explains like everything. And I couldn't believe that this book actually connects all the dots of the paranormal, including the Bermuda Triangle, the pyramid of Egypt, and the human energy fields like auras, and also like the how people like have interactions with each other, and what are the four real dangers on Earth, like number one, money, number two, politicians, number three, journalists and drugs, and number four, religions. So this book is just a book of everything.
Okay, so you found the book, you read the book, and then you actually looked for DeMarque. So share, how you found him and what that experience was like knowing him, because he's passed now.
Yeah, he passed in 2018, and I read the book. In the postscript of the book, it says there are far more incredible things that Michelle wasn't allowed to write in the book because we were far from understanding them. I was very curious, and I was very confident that I would be able to understand the one thing that he didn't put in the book. So I decided to track him down. I found that some tourists accidentally met him in Vietnam, where he was living at that time, but they didn't have his exact address. And I grabbed that photo that the tourist took of his bungalow, and I printed that out and took it with me and flew to Vietnam and showed it to the taxi driver. And the taxi driver took me to where Michelle was living.
Wow. What was that like meeting him? And did he accept you in? Did he talk to you? Did he become a teacher of yours?
Kind of. He was annoyed at my visit because he was a very private person. He didn't want me to ask him a lot of questions. He asked me to read the book a few more times because all the answers were in the book, and I did. And then he was kind of aloof for the first 3 days. But then 2 days before I was about to depart, he showed me a contract asking me to follow up with the publisher in China because they paid him $2,000 but never got the book published.
Mm.
And then he asked me to find out why. It turns out they were very afraid of the Chinese government or the censorship, and so they decided not to have the book published there. So he asked me to find different publishers. That's what I did.
And you indeed did help him get it published. It's published as fiction. Is that correct?
As a fiction in China, but as a nonfiction in Taiwan.
Okay. And then nonfiction here in the States, but it didn't do well here in the States, but it's been on the bestseller list for how many years now in China?
For 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, really.
So everybody's really drawn to it. So did he ever share with you that one thing that he didn't put in the book?
He did. He asked me to visit him for the second time so that he could tell me in person, face to face. And I did. And he told me, and he asked me not to tell anyone else because the ET told him to say that to me. So I have to keep my words. But what he didn't say is that I couldn't write an article revealing as many hints and giving as many clues as possible. So I wrote an article about it and giving a lot of hints. And the title of the article is The Second Coming of Jesus Christ. So you can think about that.
Ah, so we have to look for the article because you're actually not allowed to talk about it. But you
Right.
give a lot of hints in this article. Okay, so you're sending us to read an article so we can try to decipher what this might be.
Exactly.
Okay, so what were his experiences like? Yeah. So start us from the beginning of his book. Like, what were his experiences and how did they communicate with him?
In short, through telepathy. It actually happened in 1987, he woke up in the middle of the night and he didn't know why, but he wrote a note to his wife saying that he will be gone for 10 days and there's absolutely no need to worry about him. And then he walked outside of his house and he was lifted up to the middle of the air where he saw a very beautiful, tall, like 9 or 10 foot tall, blonde, sexy ET who said to him that they were going to take a journey together to their planet for 9 days and then came back. And then the ET is very, very kind of angelic looking. And Michelle felt great compassion and love when he was with the ETs. And they went on a spaceship and they actually disinfected him using yellow light and blue light. And then they, in less like a day or less than 24 hours, they arrived at their destination, which is the planet Thiaoouba. Michelle called that planet a golden planet because he saw like golden mist surrounding the planet as he approached there. Everything is so perfect, just like a paradise on the planet. People never die. They're forever looking like in their 30s. And because they can regenerate their body cells and tissues, and they can perform all the miracles as performed by Christ. For example, they can levitate, they can heal all the wounds or diseases, and they can disappear out of a sudden, and they can materialize objects. They can project images into Michelle's mind. So they can do everything that we can imagine. And Michel didn't really want to come back. He wanted to stay there because he felt so comfortable and so being loved by the people there. But then his mission was to report everything he saw, witnessed, and experienced, to send back knowledge to people on Earth so that we can make the right choices for the future. Because while the past is fixed, the future depends on our collective consciousness, our decisions that we make in the future. So the future is actually changeable. So this is why this book is actually not a book of prophecy, but a book of warnings by the ETs.
Okay, what did they want him to stress to us?
That we should really focus on our spiritual development, our spirituality, because when the creator, or sometimes we would call God, created everything, it inserted a tiny portion of itself to each one of us. So we are part of God and God is part of us. God did this just to experience what we experience through our physical bodies. So we are just like physical beings having a spiritual experience, or spiritual beings having a physical experience in this world. So the sole purpose is to, through the thoroughness, the challenges in life, we develop our spirituality. We don't take away any of the material wealth when we die, and we don't take away the materialism or material-based experiences with us when we die. We take away the spiritual experiences with us. So this is the essence of that. But also contains a lot of the spiritual knowledge as well. For example, we should pay attention to the astral body or the human energy fields of us. Because our mind affects the human energy fields, the auras, and the auras affect our physical body. So it goes like this. So when people see auras, like, I'm sure you know this, because this is from this book that I learned about Barbara Brennan. And I
Yes.
read her
Yep,
books.
I learned Barbara Brennan myself. Yeah, that's who I practice. So it's really fun that we're getting into the human energy field, and that when I was scrolling through, your website and your information, that you do have Barbara Brennan as a contact person for this information, because she is very thorough. She was quite the seer.
Exactly.
I love her work and I love doing her work. So yes, let's talk about the aura, purpose of the aura, and really dive into different aspects of it.
Yes, according to this book, we have 9 different bodies. Besides our physical body, we also have our physiological body, psychotypical body, or the astral body, and also other bodies as well. And it just the human body is a very complicated system. It's not just the physical body. So when we have certain problems or diseases, And the aura seers like Barbara Brandon would be able to foretell what's going to happen to a person's future or illness. And if we can heal the auras or the human energy fields before the physical manifestations occur, we can actually heal the person before the symptoms occur. So this is very, very interesting because my parents are Chinese herbal doctors, and sometimes I read the Chinese classical medicinal books, and they actually in the past were able to see auras, and they were able to heal the energy fields of a person before the physical symptoms occur by using acupuncture, by using like medicinal herbs. So that's actually the best doctors in the Chinese history. And according to the Chinese philosophy, is that the best doctors cure everything or heal everything before symptoms occur, and the mediocre doctors heal the person when small symptoms occur, and the average doctors heal the person when the major symptoms occur. So this is what the Chinese doctors say.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it's so true too, because, when you get to that stage where you're having to go to the doctor is normally treating the symptoms and not the root cause. But if you can get into the auric field and see what's developing before it develops in the body, you can get to the root cause. And I find often that the root cause is previous injuries, early on in life, or previous emotional injuries or trauma that's happened in the life. And you can see it manifest in the aura. Looking at the aura, you can see like the person's life, what they've experienced, and as I'm working on someone, things I'd like to say light up in the auric field that are ready to be healed at that time that the person's on the table with me.
Exactly. And this book specifically emphasized the importance of developing an aura camera to actually use more scientific methods to manifest the auras. And I actually have been working on this, trying to find people who can see auras and to draw pictures or draw the colors of auras so that we can compare the photos with the drawings that the aura readers can draw. It's been a challenge because different aura readers see different colors of the same person or the same photo. So I haven't been able to find three people seeing the same colors. I guess this is something that I should pay more attention of. If you have any suggestions, please
I
let me
do.
know.
Well, I'll definitely give you a name after the show. She's one of my favorites, and I've actually had her on the show. She's a mentor of mine, Elka McCartney. It's a fantastic aura seer. So yes, I think I can make that connection for sure. So diving deeper,
Thank
do
you.
they talk about the chakra system or anything else besides the meridians and the aura in the body?
Yes, they do talk about the chakras of a person, saying that they say that we have six major chakras, but there may be also minors. But one of the most important ones is the third eye chakra, and this is through that chakra the ETs were able to allow Michelle, the author, to see auras, aura colors for a certain period of time, and to be able to understand all the languages not in the world but also in the universe. Like he actually met a different ET from a different planet, speaking a different language, but through the works of the ET, you pointing the finger on the third eye chakra and the solar plex chakra, and Michelle was able to understand the languages of all the ETs. But only for a certain period of time. They also explained that the human sexual activity was actually energy exchange of the chakras of the male and female. But the two people have to be truly in love in order for that to happen. And they have to have a more like a psychic connection or kind of mental connection to each other. So this is how they explain that. And in a sense, they also imply that the chakras affect the auras and the auras affects the physical body. So this is based on the book.
Yes. And very similar to what my teachers have said and what I see, in my clients. I think it's very fascinating that you said you brought up sex and sexuality. As you mentioned before, when you contacted me, you realized that I wrote the book Sex Magic based on one of my favorite workshops that I've taught over the last couple of years. And I dive into that a little bit around sacred sexuality. And I really do think that there is a difference from my experience between just having sex. You know, you can love a person and have sex, but then you can also take it deeper into what I like to call sacred sexuality, where you're really like being intimate, open up your energy field, open up your chakras, and connect in that way. And when you do connect on an energetic level, you up level your lovemaking. It's beyond just a sexual experience. It's a cosmic spiritual experience between the two of you. And it really does up level the not only the connection, but the love experience. I'm a very visual person, a seer. So one time when I was having an encounter, I actually saw us spiral up. And then we were sitting together, kind of crisscross, you know, facing each other, but it was the symbol. Let's see if I can describe that. It was the symbol of the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together in union, in perfect union of divine partnership. So it really did become this spiritual experience. It was very emotional and very moving for me to be able to see this vision.
Yes. And according to this book, when that happens, it actually improves the physical health of both parties, the two people. And actually it's the fountain of youth based on this. And according to the Tibetan secret practices, they used to do this a lot in the past to really increase their spirituality and also physical health. And but the two people have to be truly in love and this kind of spiritual connection together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that really does make a difference. Focusing on love, that love connection, and being in love. And I do have to agree too, because I've also read about the Tibetan monks who used to charge their Kundalini and activate their sexual energy to back their life force, to help their life force to channel through their body for self-realization and for awakening. So that is an aspect of it too, because the Kundalini is often experienced first as that sexual energy in the pelvis, in that second chakra, as you were saying earlier, and is, I mean, ecstatic joy, peace, serenity. Your whole life changes when you activate this energy in the body. It's ecstatic bliss when you enter into that experience. And it does, I feel like it has been for me, just turning back the clock. As you said, it really does, like, it invigorates your body and gives you a vibrancy for life.
Exactly. Yes. So this book touches upon so many interesting topics that I find this to be very, very interesting. Not only about that, but also about I know you're going to Egypt, right?
Yes.
The pyramid and also the Sphinx and the history of Egypt. It turns out that ancient Egyptian history has a connection to lost civilizations such as Lemuria and Atlantis. So what happened was that back 250,000 years ago, there was a group of ETs that came down to Earth from a planet called Arimak 3. And they were the original Lemurians on the continent of Lemuria in the Pacific Ocean, where like Hawaii Islands are located, where Easter Island is located. And if you see the statues on Easter Island, they're actually made by the Lemurians in the past, the Moas. But unfortunately, the continent sunk into the ocean about 14,500 years ago. There was also a continent called Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean, in which the Lemurians colonized about 30,000 years ago. And then there was a group of Caucasian people on the continent of Atlantis as well. There was a great learned person called Thoth that actually went to the Mediterranean area to Egypt about 17,000 years ago, and then established a very successful civilization in Egypt. And he was actually the person who built the Great Pyramid, using anti-gravitational technologies and what they would call the electro-ultrasonic systems to cut the huge stones in a very precise manner. And the users of the Great Pyramid actually sat in the middle, the king's chamber, and then meditated, projecting their thoughts or energies from the top of the pyramid into the sky, onto other planets, so that they could communicate with the people on different planets. Because the Great Pyramid is a tool to capture cosmic and terrestrial energy, because of the special structure and form. And it was also used to make rain as well. And this is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The Sphinx, this is not in the book, but according to Michelle, there are actually 3 chambers beneath the Sphinx. And when we are ready, the 3 chambers can be opened. And when that happens, everything will be known, because right now we are not ready, so we don't know what's inside. But according to Edgar Casey, he says that the Hall of Records is located beneath the Sphinx. I find that to be very interesting, because Michelle also says that even if you're to use modern technology using explosives, we cannot open the 3 chambers. It has to be opened using a special way when we are ready spiritually.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's interesting that Edgar Casey mentioned it too. Yeah, I love Edgar Casey's work. So you brought up the pyramids, Egypt, the Sphinx, this information and everything. Let's dive into reincarnation, the process of incarnating. What does Michelle talk about in the book around reincarnation and the incarnation process and the purpose?
Yeah, we used our physical body as a tool to learn spiritual lessons in this lifetime, but we give up the tool when we die, and our astral body rejoins our higher self with the positive experiences or spiritual lessons we learn, and then we can kind of review our past life, the life we just had. In that process, it's like we can experience everything everyone experiences. For example, if I hit a person, I would be able to experience the pain of that person that I hit. It's just like a holographic film that like plays back everything that happened. And then I would be able to learn and evaluate how I did in the last life. And I would know what kind of spiritual lessons I would learn in the next lifetime. And I would be able to choose the family I'm going to be born in, and then the kind of major points in the lifetime. It's like a life preview. And then my astral body would leave the higher self and then go into the embryo of that family or that mother, and then the baby will be born. But when the astral body joins the embryo, it has to go through a river of oblivion, as the ancient Nagas would call, forgetting everything that happened in the past, forgetting all the knowledge that I accumulated. So that's the process. So this is why a lot of people don't remember his or her past lives, but some people do. It's documented by Dr. Ian Stevenson. So Michelle was actually able to, with the assistance of the ETs, he was able to see what happened in his past lives, 80 past lives. So he was a German miner in one of his past lives. He was a few times a beggar on streets. He was a goldsmith in Japan, or kind of like a water carrier in India, or a queen in a country on different planet. So in each of his past lives, he learned different spiritual lessons. So the roles that he plays in his past lives were just like different positions on a wheel. What goes up has to come down. So we keep learning and keep learning different spiritual lessons. So this is why there's nothing to envy about the super rich or the super wealthy, because they have their own spiritual lessons to learn. And then when they learn their lessons, they kind of go into different roles in the future lives. So this is the concept of reincarnation. But when we learn sufficient spiritual lessons, we move up the ladder. So according to this book, there are 9 different categories of planets. So we are living on category 1 planet, the lowest category. So when we are ready, we evolve and move up to a category 2 planet, and then up to the level 9, where the Theobans came from, where the ETs came from. And then there's a level that's higher than level 9. That will be the source, the great ether, or the creator of the universe. So the Theobans, the ETs, can join and rejoin the creator of the universe. They have a hard time keeping their physical body. So they sometimes disappear unintentionally. So this is very unique, but that I think people can learn more about it by reading the book.
That's awesome. And these things are talked about too. When you listen to near-death experiencers talk about, what happened when they died, they talk about a life review. When you talk about mediums and they're speaking to other people on the other side, they're talking about, they're learning lessons. They have the possibility to reincarnate. There's parallel lives. There's that life review again that happens. There's the forgetting process that happens when we incarnate. That's talked about. There are studies that are being done, worldwide for years about these things. So it's kind of interesting that he also put them in the book. Does he talk about, parallel universes, ghosts, or anything? Can you explain?
Yes. Let me talk about ghosts first.
Sure.
Because when a person passes, when the astral body leaves the physical body, because astral body is composed of electrons, 81% of the electrons join the higher self after 3 days. So this is why Christ resurrected after 3 days. And this is why the Tibetan monks, or in the Tibetan culture, the corpse of the dead cannot be touched for 3 days. So 81% of the electrons join the higher self after 3 days, and the other 19% of the electrons remain in nature. So this is something about the book. It's very detailed, very specific. 19% versus 81% of electrons. So the 19% of electrons remain in nature. So this is what some people see as ghosts. This is because electrons have static forces, so they would resemble the appearance of the person when he was or she was alive. And also because electrons have memories. So this is why ghosts frequently haunt the places they loved or hated. So the ghosts are real for sure. And if you think ghosts bother you, you can just use a lighter and to dispel the ghosts. There's nothing to be afraid of, and they're just part of nature.
And they do talk about that. If you speak to people who are into paranormal studies, they talk about residual energy as being sometimes, or an energetic loop, because we as energetic beings leave our energy behind. I remember working on a house for someone and they were trying to sell the house. They couldn't sell it. So a friend and I went in to clean the house energetically because it was very tumultuous at the end of their marriage. And there were, there was energy left behind, there was energetic vortexes left behind, and we went in and cleared all of this, and then they were able to sell the house. So we do leave this energy behind. That's why when people walk into a room, it can either feel really great or it can, feel really low or heavy, depending on what energies were in the house previous to you walking in.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of the parallel universe, I was fascinated by the Bermuda Triangle stories when I was young, before I read this book by Michel Demarque. And I didn't know where the people went. But this book says that the Bermuda Triangle is just one of the places on Earth in which the portals or warps occur, connecting our world to a parallel universe. So people, planes, or ships near these portals or warps get sucked into the parallel universe. And inside of parallel universe, in which Michelle the author went inside and saw what happens inside. Inside of the parallel universe, time stops and people don't feel hunger, thirst, or pain. So this is very interesting because there is a private investigator called David Paulides who wrote a series of books called the Missing 411 books. And he documented a lot of strange cases in which people who hike in the national park in the US and Canada just disappear under strange circumstances. So dogs cannot trace the sense of the people who disappeared. And sometimes the rescue teams searched and researched a specific location, but then the corpse appeared in the places that they searched and searched again in the past. And also some of the corpses they found seem to be very strange, that they don't seem to feel any pains because the corpse, like it seems that the person walked to his or her bones. So that's very interesting because the evidence corroborates with the descriptions or explanations given in the book Thiaoouba Prophecy.
It's good that you actually search out comparisons to Michelle's book. I find that very fascinating that you have this desire to learn this information and to corroborate, is that the right word? The evidence, to the book by giving examples of other sciences and other experiments and discoveries and such.
Yes, indeed, because I'm a very curious person. And in the very beginning, when I read this book, I thought it was a science fiction. But the more I look into that, there are facts that can be verified and validated and proven. So this book is very, very interesting, that even though it reads like a science fiction, but I mean, I don't think it's a science fiction.
So you're feeling like DeMarque really put in a lot of metaphysical information, a lot of spiritual information into the book that was supposedly channeled to him through these beings at Thiaoouba.
Well, he actually went to the planet Thiaoouba for 9 days and then came back. After he came back, he received information as a tool to assist when he began writing this book, because sometimes he would forget the details and the information would be channeled to him for the specific details written in the book. But the book also has a lot of practical information relating to how the system works nowadays. Speaking of money, politicians, journalists, and drugs and religions. And also it talks about a group of financiers that run this world. Because when we think about the politics, we think about in the US, Republicans against the Democrats. But it seems that this book implies that there's a group of people running behind everything, behind the scenes, manipulating both parties at the same time. So both parties are on their payroll. So it's just like their purpose is just to divide the real world so that people cannot really concentrate on what's really important, which is to increase or develop their spirituality. And money is actually the root of all evils, because if you think about the industries, pharmaceutical industry, the energy industry, even the education industry, they all serve their shareholders. And a lot of inventions are kind of not encouraged to be commercialized. Stanley Meyer is one case in which he invented a vehicle that ran on water, but he mysteriously died before he was able to commercialize it. Same thing for a lot of ways to treat different diseases. But actually, I think the best way to treat all the physical illness would be through energy healing, because that's the root of the problem. If you can improve the energy issues of a person, then everything will be resolved. And then the second best way would to take natural herbs, and the worst would be to take pharmaceutical drugs, because they actually injure the liver, because liver has to kind of detoxify the drugs first before they can go into the bloodstream. So this is the thing. Yeah.
Yes, a nice healthy lymphatic system is important for healing in the body for sure. Yeah. I often speak to that myself. And conspiracy theories aside, there is an aspect to life where, if our energy bodies remain divided with each other, we cannot unite and become the united civilization that we're supposed to be, as in the woo community, we talk about going from 3D to 5D, which is, that duality, and then going into unity. So if, the powers that be, so to speak, can keep us divided, then, they keep us out of that unity consciousness. And unity consciousness is that love, is that compassion, that you speak of in your talks, and, about Michelle's, content, that is the importance in life. And I know that has been a path for me in my life, is love and unconditional love and unity, and coming out of that dualistic thinking and coming together, as humankind together to up level the planet and make the earth a better place to live in, and just support each other. Gosh, all we have to do is support each other, no matter what we look like or what we're doing. Just accept each other, for who we are as individual human beings, and come together, unify in love.
Exactly. And actually this book encouraged people to unite, not just within the US, but also internationally, because it has to be an international effort. What we are against is kind of international organization that tries to divide us. And I think it's important to realize that when God created every one of us, we are actually all the same, all part of God. And this book actually also talks about when we do have challenges in life, what we need to do. The best thing would be to look inside for answers, because according to the Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. So we don't actually need to follow the suggestions of the mainstream media or politicians. We should look inside and seek for answers by following your intuition, or the suggestions that you receive when you meditate, or when you pray, or when you have a good night of sleep, having dreams. Sometimes the answers are given through dreams as well. So this is very important to remember.
Yes, 100%. And I 100% support everything that Samuel just said, everybody. So go back and re-listen to that aspect too. And I think there's so many nuggets here. And it's so true, Samuel. We get information in our dreams. Look within yourself, tap into your intuition. We're not taught that anymore. I've spoken about this before. Like, years past, we used to be taught to trust our gut, to follow our intuition, our instincts. And then that stopped, and we started, giving our power away to other people to solve problems for us, or to get information from. So yes, go within, learn how to trust yourself, learn how to trust your intuition, your instinct, your gut, because that actually leads you into those synchronicities and coincidences in life. And you end up in a flow because you're following that energy from within yourself and opening up to the possibilities of creation and creating a better life for yourself, and not giving your power away to others to, give you all the answers.
Yeah. Specifically not to follow a religion, because religions are actually a curse on earth, because the church or the organized religions serve as an intermediary agency between our between us and the source, the creator of the universe. So we actually can connect to the creator on our own without the need of a religion. So that's also an important message from the book.
Yes, from all the meditating and work that I've done, yes, we can connect, without the in-between person. And,
Yeah.
and again, religion has led a lot of people on the path. Everybody's got their own path. And there is the aspect of giving over our personal power too, instead of the religions teaching us that we have the power within. Although there are spiritual teachers and teachings out there that teach about us, being the core, the central, help me out here, that it is within. I'll just pedal back, that it is within, that we do have that power within us, and that we can live from that space instead of having that in between, person.
Yeah, we should be spiritual but not religious. So that's the key message. The book also
Interesting.
the book also contains a lot of practical advice. For example, we should pay attention to the effects of colors, because if you can match the colors of your aura with the colors of the clothes that you wear, or the colors of the rooms that you live in, then they're going to kind of increase your psyche. And so colors are really important, and they do have therapeutic effects as well. In fact, there are studies done by scientists and doctors saying that green color, the color green, has effects of healing or treating migraines or headaches. And the color red can energize a person, and the color pink can reduce the muscle strength by 30% or so. And I find that to be very interesting, because there's a football coach, I think it's Coach Hayden from University of Iowa, who knew about this, the effects of pink color on muscle strength. So he painted the rooms of the locker rooms of the visiting teams into pink color. And he barely lost a home game.
That is hilarious. And it's true. I used to research color therapy back when I first started in the 90s. Yeah. Very fascinating for sure. Is there anything, as we, come to the end of our hour, that we haven't touched on yet, that you would like to share, with our audience about the book, or certain aspects of UFOs or our origin, or anything that we might be missing that's a big standout that would be really important for our listeners to hear?
Well, I think the key message is that I think this book is a book of everything. And so far we have only covered about maybe 9% of the content of the book. It also talks about the origin of the people. We all came from different planets. We didn't evolve from monkeys or gorillas. And in fact, the Hebrews were unique in a sense that they came from a different category of planet from the rest of us. This is why they were the chosen people by God or Theophans. So the book has a lot of interesting explanations of what happened to the past, like why they destructed the two cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and why Moses led the Hebrews out of Egypt, and why they actually kind of put the embryo of Jesus into the uterus of Virgin Mary, and why they sent Christ to us to preach about spirituality and love and reincarnation. But why the concept of reincarnation doesn't exist in the Bible anymore. So the book explains like everything, what the Catholic Church Council meetings did in the past, and also like things about geography, and things about the ancient political structure that we can learn from. And I think this book is just very difficult for me to explain what's really important, what's not important, because everyone has his or her own kind of focus or points. Though this is why the author Michelle suggests people to read the book at least 3 times, because each time you read the book, you learn something new. You learn that you probably overlooked certain things the previous time you read it. So I strongly suggest people to read the book and to have the knowledge, because knowledge is power. If we know how to respond to certain situations.
Nice. A little bit more about our origin story. You know, do they go in more in depth into our origin story besides the religious aspect of it? And what is it that you can share with us about purpose?
Yeah, so when the creator created everything, actually before the creator of the universe created everything, it imagined everything that is going to happen. And then suddenly there's a big bang or explosion. And then planets, stars, animals, plants, and human beings are created. So we are actually created by cosmic rays or cosmic eggs. So this book explains the question, who came first, chicken or egg? Neither is the cosmic ray that came first. And then we, like, if you're talking about different races of people, the blacks and the yellows first came to Earth about 1.35 million years ago from a different planet. And the ancestors of the Polynesians, the people from Lemuria, came later. And the Caucasians came afterwards. And the Hebrews came the latest, about 12,000 years ago. So we all came from different planets, for that matter. But we are all part of the creator, the source, or God, because we have a part of the God, a part of the creator.
Interesting. And what does he say about abductions? Does he talk about abductions more in the book? Because he was abducted for 10 days. So does he talk about other abduction stories?
Well, Michelle talked about the grace in a lecture he gave in Atlanta in the 90s. He said that the grace indeed put about 150 or so implants into people on Earth just to monitor us how we respond to the increasingly decreased immune system, because the grays also have the same problem. They are a dying race because they have also been losing their immune system. They wanted to see how we respond to the same situation. But the Thiaoubans say that there's absolutely no need to worry about that, because they have been watching the activities of the grays. And also there has been recent news on the retrievals of crashed UFOs or UAPs. And I think they are also from the grays. But I think we should learn from the best, learn from the Thiaoubans, people from Category 9 planet, not the people from the Category 1 planet, the grays, where the grays came from. And because the UFOs, their spacecrafts crash on Earth, indicating that their technologies are not that perfect. So we shouldn't learn from the grays or the people or the ETs whose spacecraft crashed on Earth. We should learn from the Thiaoubans, from the book of Thiaoouba Prophecy, because they have more advanced knowledge. And also Michelle saw at least he saw 147 different corpses of different ETs on planet Thiaoouba. So indicating that in our galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy, there are at least 147 different species of ETs existing. So we are not alone in the universe at all.
Nice. What would you say from this prophecy that the top what are the top 3 things we could learn from this quote unquote 9th level society?
I would say number one, we should focus more on spiritual development, not to be dropped on the technologies or materialistic aspect of our life, because our technology is actually enslaving us into more and more materialistic world. We should keep that keep that in mind. We should use technology to increase our spiritual development, such as developing like aura camera, for example. And second is that we all have past lives, and there's nothing to be afraid of when a parent dies or someone dies. There's nothing to be sorrowful of that. Actually, in the ancient civilization in Lemuria, when one of their kings died, people celebrated because people knew at that time that he did a great job on Earth, and he would be going to the next level, the next evolution. And then the third is that we should be realistic as well, because in this current world, there is indeed a group of people or financiers that is manipulating the media or the politicians or the parties, and the power of the people is not to be underestimated. Through our collective actions, through our collective consciousness, we can change the world for the future, for the better, change the future for the better, for that matter, because we can imitate what Gandhi did in India or what Dr. Martin Luther King preached. Using nonviolent resistance, we can rise up against tyrannies in the world through our collective actions, concerted actions. Because when we have a strike together, we, the people, lose very little. But the people who benefit from our slave labor, the financiers, they will lose humongously. They will lose everything, because when we stop working for them, they would have nothing. So this is why having knowledge is very important. Having concerted actions is very important. So I think this is a very important message as well.
Yes, we can make a difference.
Yeah.
Start with ourselves and let it trickle out from there. And that, you know, those people who have been a positive, you know, point in society, if we follow in their footsteps, we can bring change to the world for sure. And I always ask one final question, Samuel. What is one jewel of wisdom that you would like to bring our audience, leave our audience with today?
Look inside for answers. The kingdom of God is within you.
Nice. Samuel, this has been such an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for reaching out to me at Raise the Vibe with Liz to have this conversation. Very fascinating. Guys, if you're interested, it's Michelle DeMarquis' book, Thiaoouba Prophecy. And Samuel, how can people reach you, or what would you recommend next steps would be for people who were more curious and would like to learn more?
Yeah, they can reach me on Facebook by searching my name. They can read the book, because the book has all the information, and but they can reach out if they have questions to ask me or anyone else who is familiar with the book. There are a lot of people who are fascinated by the book. There's a large community of readers in the world.
Great. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us. It's been a pleasure to host you. Great conversation, and I wish you well in the future. And thank you, everyone, for joining me. Again, I am Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz, and you can find me everywhere at Raise the Vibe with Liz and on my website, raisethevibewithliz.com. Thank you, everyone, and remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Bye, everyone.